Hi, everybody. It's me, Karen, and I'm not alone today. I've actually invited my wonderful new friend, Enzo, along.
Hello.
I thought I'd surprise you then. He's very nice to talk to, Enzo. Who's in here? Oh, Tanya. Hello, Tanya. I haven't got a crown on today, Tanya. I've only got some purple flowers in my hair. Hi, Steph.
That's still nice.
Betty. Betty, Tanya, I've already said a lot to. Who else have I got? Foxfire. Did I say hey to you? So there you go. A few people in. We'll see who else shows up. But for the minute, it's me and it's Enzo and it's you guys. We're just today. I had Enzo along today. Oh well, apart from the fact I like talking to Enzo, just to see. Hey Holly, just to see. Which I don't think there has been. Has there, Enzo? Any updates on that? Uh,
Oh,
alien.
the UFO hearings? No, nothing really. Supposedly, for the month of August, at some point in the latter part of the month, is when we may see one of the AARO, the AARO uh, meetings, where they'll come in, and that's the strict government side. The ones that we watched a couple of weeks ago that we talked about last week, that was like a special. This is a whistleblower. Hey, I'm trying to come out as a whistleblower and your thing, and I got guff, so I had to take that whistleblower protection, and this is why.
Yep.
So,
Oh,
but there's been a lot of speculation in the news about some of that stuff, and a lot of people have kind of narrowed it down to, hey, I got busy time. I still got to get up in the morning and go to work. I kind of don't care right now.
yep.
A lot of people, a shocking amount of people. This is like at least the number two in the top five of biggest questions in the universe. Are we alone in the universe? Number one being probably what happens to us after we die, that kind of stuff. But a lot of people just don't care. A lot of people are like, it's a psyop, or the government's never going to tell us anything. They're just going to say it's all fake and just do like Blue Book and just say, it's all crap. So there's a lot of negativity floating out there about it, which is understandable. They've been sitting on this for a long time. For them to all of a
Yeah.
sudden now come out, I don't know.
And it's I just want to say, hey, Tuber Chat. He's Tuber Chat in the chat. That's his channel. He's got a great channel. He supports new and existing channels, and he sort of promotes your channel. You can go on. It's like a networking channel. So
those are great channels that do that.
Yeah, and it helps people, and it actually does introduce you to other channels you wouldn't necessarily look at, so you find them in there. So that's nice. Holly, what did she say? Oh, I think I got it. I think people have unprecedented times fatigue. Yeah.
The planet has kind of been through a lot the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, it all probably started with the dreaded C word. I know. I know that's sort of when for me, that's when the world sort of started to go a bit crazy. But and it hasn't really gotten any better. It seems to be getting kind of very confusing to be human at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
But
And to be honest, that might be why they're pushing, you know what? Everybody's already gone bonkers. Let's just go ahead and throw it. This is just as good a time as any.
And look, I'd just like to know that if they do finally admit, oh, look, yes, all right, here's the spaceships, and guess what? The Tic Tac that he flew against, that was actually us. We were testing one of the machines, or whatever. I want to know, well, okay, now that you've admitted that, what can you do for us as a planet? How can that benefit us as a human race? And if the aliens are actually real and you are really somehow conversing with them, what can they do? Like, what are we going to do here? Like, things need to get better. So I don't know. Who knows?
That's actually one of my. I have my own little pet theory about why now. Why are they doing all this now? And one of them is that they may have actually figured out at least part of some of their technology, like maybe a new power system or something like that, that's so radically different from anything from us. They couldn't just like sneak it out. It's like, oh, look what the people at Raytheon built last year. and have been testing in secret for 100 years. It would have to, because it's going to be some like radical change, something like that, some piece of technology that they couldn't just put out and somebody trying to connect dots. How did you go from gas powered jet engines to antimatter warp drive, something like that, with nothing in between, and without any tests that anybody was aware of or papers written by scientists, something like that. Maybe it's something that's like, this is something we need, like our society needs now. That's why I'm kind of thinking it might be like a power thing, if it's even that. So
hi Cheryl. What Tanya said, more and more extreme weather events as well, which and Holly just thinks we're doomed.
Don't go black pill yet. I think the fun's just going to start.
It all depends. Tanya says the aliens need to take us home with them. It all depends where they are, Tanya. I mean,
That's it.
Don't
want us riffraff?
No, they could live under the sea. Some of them. I don't particularly think
could have been here for a long time before we were even around.
Yeah, I think honestly, I was actually talking to Crow about this yesterday, and I said to him, I said, Crow, I can't say too much because I don't want to upset people who believe in, the Bible and everything. And I said, but I've got a sneaking suspicion if all this comes out as being legit, I said, I reckon it really is like people have got it confused way back when, like they've been here way before we even knew how to write on a book. Like,
right.
They're probably our, GODSs. Crow seems to agree, but
to be fair, you could easily describe, because obviously thousands of years ago, they were using the vocabulary they had. They're not going to know what a spaceship is. They're not going to know if something's an alien from another dimension or planet or whatever. Honestly, some of the descriptions that are written in the Bible and other religious texts describing these certainly not human beings, that could easily fall under, angels and demons. I'm sure anyone that's been abducted would certainly say they're probably at least evil, or at least
I've got my hand up. They're just not abducting me. Hey, Enzo, I told you before I had invited someone else along. He's here, so I think he can probably hear me. I'm just going to introduce him to the chat. Tanya, you'd probably be familiar with this person. He's a new YouTuber, and The Shape and Crow have been promoting him, and Beardo has been promoting him a little bit lately because he's the side eye guy. And here he is.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. If you've got me on somewhere, just turn it down so it doesn't echo back, because you're probably new to all this, aren't you? Have you done any live chats yet?
Yeah. No, first one.
Oh, this is the first one.
Do you hear me?
Oh.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah, he's got to stay incognito, though, because of what he does. We don't really want to put his face out there because, well, I don't know, just because it protects him a little bit, because some of these...
to be perfectly honest, I just rather just stay anonymous, really. That's really it.
Yeah, because sometimes, Enzo probably knows all this anyway, but sometimes with what the side-eye guy does, I've watched Beardo, I've watched The Shape, and I've even seen Crow get some really nasty stuff come their way. And in fact, you got those twin boys, the Crayola twins, as they're touted by Beardo. They reported you the other day for fair use. So it's getting really hard, Enzo, to do anything, like to use a clip of somebody's that's why I didn't put any clips, for example, of the hearing up, because I thought, for all I know, CNN or someone might go, hey, you used our news clip.
Right.
But
it definitely falls under fair use, though. They're getting a bit desperate, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, there's videos out there where people who support and enjoy the twins' content will watch the whole entire video of theirs as a reaction video, unedited, like from start to finish. None of that gets pulled.
Yeah, because it's
that's the worst. Those guys, where they'll actually play someone else's video, and they'll even like get up and go make a sandwich. They're not even like commenting on it, and then come back and come back with their little chicken nuggies.
And like their only real thing there is just to out scare or be more afraid than the twins themselves. So they're just watching it and they're like climbing up their chair and all petrified and all the rest of it. And it's just they're just trying to outdo each other. But yeah, like I say, the twins don't they don't pull any of that stuff down. It's weird. I just find it weird, like, because they also pulled down they also copyright struck The Shape for one of his videos because he really outed them. And so I get that. I don't quite get why my little channel gets they went after my little channel. I don't know. It's very strange to me. It's strange to me. Crack on.
I was just
saying it's strange to me that a channel of like 6.5 or whatever it is 1,000 subscribers they got goes after one with like 2.
Well, the thing is, it's interesting. I'll just call you Side Eye because it's easier than that Side Eye. Joe just brought up Joe from Entity 7 Paranormal. He just basically said, what are they going to do when location owners start calling them out? That's already happening. I happen to know, for example, the twins they've been to Virginia City. So I'm waiting for the fallout from the Mackey Mansion. I know they went there. I dare say they probably went to the Washoe. I haven't had that confirmed yet. They've done a few other things. And yes, everywhere they go, there's a demon. Something's trying to kill them. They narrowly survive, dying. And that's what happens with a lot of these things. I don't know if you see it, Enzo, but all these places are supposedly haunted. People go in and just make a mockery. Really, they're making a mockery because they want to I get it. They want to make money. They want people to watch their channel. They're all about the money. They're not really about the paranormal. And it's such a shame because a lot of these places actually go to some really great locations. And all right, they might not catch anything, but they can still tell you the history of the place. You can still look around it. And it's really interesting looking at how they do things. So I really don't know what to say, but it's not right that they keep calling people out for calling them liars.
Well, I mean, if anyone that's actually done any investigations like that for ghosts or Bigfoot or UFOs or any of that stuff, it doesn't happen all the time. And you can go out to the same place multiple times and maybe see nothing every time. But there's always that one time where it's crazy. But if it just happens to be that you're catching it on those off days, and we saw a lot of that with some of the television the ghost TV shows, where every place they went was hopping. It was crazy, and it turns out, they were kind of pulling stuff with strings and doing camera tricks and silly stuff, post-production type stuff to make look like something was going on because they need something to happen, or else nobody's going to watch their show of them sitting in the dark for 12 hours or whatever it is.
Yeah, and it is a lot of that. I've been Side Eye doesn't know me at all really, other than my contact with him. So I'll let him know a bit about it. I know I went to America last year to attend one of those para things, where a big group of people come together, Side Eye, and I went there and I met a few groups of people that investigate. I made friends with 2 lots, and I also realized that some of them, someone that was there was a faker, but he got called out at that time. I met Joe from Entity 7 Paranormal, and so I met a lot of genuine ghost hunters, people that are genuinely out there. They realize the equipment they use might work, might not work. There's no proof it works, but they use it just, I don't know about Joe, but I certainly know that for me, when I've been on some investigations with them, because I went back I went back in May and I went on a 3-week road trip and went to a few places and investigated. And when you use that equipment, it's, Enzo would know too, nothing's ever been verified that it actually does what we think it does. It's can be a coincidence. It could be something. It might not be something. But that's kind of the fun side. I tended to go with more of how I felt, like what my body was doing. Most of the time I wasn't frightened or anything like that. A few times I got those funny chills that are weird. And look, nothing at the time, nothing. Oh, one house was the Octagon Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. Octagon Hall was a really old place that had something to do with the Civil War, etc. There was something about that, can't quite explain it. But, on the whole, nothing much really happened. But it was awesome being in these places. And, if you don't take into account the fact that the equipment may or may not be doing what it does, and you just sort of debunk that as you go, it's okay. But so it's very disheartening when you watch shows like Twin Paranormal. Oh God, there's
they all use the equipment. The equipment seems to be like a big. I mean, the reason they use the equipment, in my opinion, anyway, is just because nothing happens if they don't. Like, it's just they have to. And then the art of their channel is to interpret whatever comes through their apps and spirit box and the rest of it to create a storyline on the spot, which I actually couldn't do. Sometimes I watch it, and as funny and fake as I find it, I'm like, that's actually quite amazing how they will say that this thing will spit out the most random nonsense, and you have somehow manipulated it and engineered it to fit their narrative. Yep. That is, like, to do that on the fly, to improvise that, is actually quite impressive, weirdly. But this, my thing about all those things I talk to is, like, even if something may well be coming through that, which I don't buy it at all, but if that was the case, like, it's not enough. Like, you're making extraordinary claims, and even if some of these techniques that you use and the equipment you use could do that, it's so easy to just dismiss it. And this is the problem with trying to prove the paranormal, is like it's so even eyewitness stuff is easy to disprove. It's so difficult to get any kind of, like, evidence for this stuff. But I'll take an eyewitness thing over those toys any day. Like, I just don't buy the toys at all.
No, and it can be, without giving too much away, because the others haven't put out their episodes yet. We were at a location where the REM pod kept going off, and at first it sort of started to coincide with questions, but you are led. Like, you've got to be careful how you ask the questions, because otherwise you can take something as a yes, and it's just because something's gone off, and you sort of, like you say, you make a story. But it was interesting. We figured out there was just something not right. So it actually ended up, and Joe, if he's watching his ears, Joe will know, it was a CB radio. We knew that someone was nearby with a CB radio, and every time they used it, boom, the REM pod went off. And they weren't in the building; they were away from the building. But that's what it took. And Joe had actually brought that up once before and said sometimes, trains and trucks use CB radios, and it can interfere with the equipment. So if we debunked it there on the spot, so we realised what was going on. But some people don't do that. It can be anything setting up. I also made a mistake at Waverley. I made a mistake. I checked my phone. for something just to check in before I started doing things, and forgot to turn it to airplane mode. And then we were investigating, and I stuck the phone, because I had the camera on it, I stuck my phone there, and all of a sudden the EMF thing was going mental, and we're like, oh, what? And then I think it was Cassie realised, she said, Karen, is your phone on airplane? And I went, oh shit. I said, I don't know. So I went over and grabbed it. No. So I turned it off, and sure enough,
sure.
But we could have, if we were like the others, we could have used that and said, oh my God, look at that. And I wonder how many people actually do that anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to get any views if it was boring, but I just don't know. I just don't understand. Well, yes, I do. Greed is a big thing. I understand they want to make money.
Well, you look at like Twin Paranormal is a very good example to keep going back to them. Like, you look how much their channel's grown. They are very successful. They've got a model. I've watched way too many of their videos now, because I for research purposes, it does my head in a little bit. But they have it's a script. They have a formula that they stick to, and there's beats in those videos, and they know exactly, and they got it down to almost like a science now. Like, they know exactly what works, and their audience loves it. And a big part of what works is just to kind of make these extraordinary claims. And like you said earlier, it's like, exactly, like, I don't know how many times someone can be near death and still want to do those videos.
Like, I can tell you now, if I went into a haunted location and I saw one of my friends get possessed and start talking like the chick on The Exorcist, number one, I think, have they taken their meds today? Like, is there something about them I don't know? Or number two, I think, shit, how well do I know this person? And I would leave. Just like the old jokes, I'd leave, because I think, I'm not here for that crap. That's just, so I don't know. I'm still a skeptic, very much so, but I do believe, I just don't know what it is. So I kind of believe, but again, I'm not sure. Things happen. The more people I see fake things, the more I think, shit, am I just an idiot? Like, am I just being suckered in? But then I did have an experience at the Washoe Club that I can't explain. It wasn't, you know how people say, I got the chills. I used to think to myself, oh, that's probably a cold breeze, or it's probably, they've just, how sometimes you just get the shivers for no reason. But when I was in the Washoe Club, it happened to me, and it wasn't the shivers, it wasn't cold, it wasn't anything. It was the most weirdest thing. Which also coincided with the smell of, I took it as a pipe, not cigar, but there was this big, strong smell of like a pipe smoke, and then like static electricity all over me. And it was the weirdest thing. I've never ever, like, I'm an old lady, I've never felt that ever in my life. I've had the chills and everything. So that I can't explain. It doesn't mean it can't be explained. I just don't know how to explain it. So there's lots of things that can happen. So I am very skeptical. I'm also skeptical when I watch some of these episodes and they say, oh, a murder took place in this house, and it was this and it was that and it was this. And I think, now I don't listen to that. Now, if I can research that place myself through old newspaper clippings, and that's kind of basically what, in some ways, I guess I'm a bit of a debunker, but not to the extent that, say, the Shape or Crow is. I don't want to be able to debunk. I want to be able to go, oh, wow, that could be something. But, I've looked into the Sally house, and that's just, stories are full of crap. Like, it's just, there's no Sally. So there's lots of things. There's lots of things, and I just, I don't know, but you've got to be careful how you word things too. Otherwise, people might get shitty with me. And I don't.
On the internet? No way.
Yeah. And I don't want to, I don't like to say to people, because someone else in the chat just before. Kibber, this is the side eye guy. Kibber's just asking, is that shape? No.
No, definitely not shape.
No.
Actually, I would like to hear him do an English accent though.
Actually, well, he has tried. I saw him in an episode the other day.
Oh, I did.
It sounded dreadful. But yeah, actually, I didn't send him a message. I should have. I probably can, but he's awfully hard to get a hold of sometimes. But yeah, someone earlier said something. Now I've gone completely. See what I do, Enzo? I've lost my complete train of thought. It was something. It'll come back.
While you're thinking of that, I did have a question for both of you.
Yeah.
I haven't really been involved with a lot of ghost hunting kind of things. Although I've been invited to one. I have some friends of mine that are part of a paranormal group a couple hours away. That the next time they go out, they invited me along. But anyways, is there a particular piece of equipment that you think is just nonsensical thing, or some stuff is like, okay, this is legit, like your EMF readers and your squawk boxes, things that all that stuff? Is there something in there that you personally think is just garbage?
Well, I'm actually the same as you, Enzo. I've never been on a ghost hunt either. So I'm not the one. I would love to do one, but I've never been on a ghost hunt. So I've only got those videos to go by. I can say, like, is it the spirit box, which is the one that goes through all the different channels that are very the radio frequency? Yeah, that does my head in. It gives me such a migraine every time.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And I don't get the argument for it either. It's like, oh, it comes up with a word. Yeah, it's going to. By the nature of what you're doing, it's going to come and spit out. Like it's pure. That's just pure probability.
Yeah, the only there's the like the garbage, absolute garbage in my opinion, are those apps that are on your phone. They've got names.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's 100%. Just a word base like that. I don't care who makes it, who puts it together, whatever. It's just that's a piece of rubbish. It's like I said, there's
one in particular you can actually put your own words in there as well. There's I want to say necronometer. I think you can actually put your own, and that's the last video I did of Twin Paranormal. That's exactly what they did. They kept saying Skinwalker over and over and over again because they were looking for skinwalkers, because apparently skinwalkers are everywhere. And I didn't know this at the time, but I learned in the comments and I researched it. It seems to be true. Is that there is? I think they've taken it away with the latest update of the app, but the version that Twin Paranormal were using is that there is like a button you can push in there and you can just type in your own words that you want it to spit back out at you.
Yeah, and that's silly. Like, why bother? And then, of course, there is the radio thing that you were talking about before. Now, I've done they call it the Estes method or sensory deprivation or whatever. Right. Apparently, because I just say what I hear, apparently it was coinciding. I've seen a few things. It was coinciding with some of the questions they were asking. But again, it's radio stations, and it's going through. I've heard some things that are just kind of weird. So I'm so far as that's concerned, I'm not sure. I don't think so. But certainly the apps I chuck out the window straight away. I have heard people do the Estes method and get a freaking conversation going, and I think what? Like, how are you even making sentences? Like, because I've listened to that and it's words. It's like rabbit.
Yeah. Right. Sometimes they can have a full blown conversation on those things, and it's like, oh, come off it.
Yeah. No. I'm yet to have anything when you say, "What is your name?" I haven't heard anything come back and say, "Oh, my name's George," or "My name's Mary." I was actually watching one of the paranormal channels that I trust. They're called the Colorado Travelers, and they were at the McIntyre Villa,
and they got some. It's again, for the most part, it was pretty boring. But towards the very end, they actually asked. I won't remember it completely, but they got a name back, and it was verified with the name of one of the, some of like the ghost stories back then, that was quite exciting. When things like that happen, it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
That's and I believe those guys. I don't believe those guys fake anything. So when things like that happen, I suppose that's when maybe I can kind of give some kind of what's the word? Credence to the apps, to be like, okay, all the apps, but like, the equipment. If you can get that kind of response from it, that's quite impressive from someone who's trustworthy.
Because one of the reasons why I asked that is one of the things that it always gets me on these ghost shows is and part of this just might be from working around jet engines for 24 years. My hearing just stinks. My hearing's fine. It's my listening that stinks. But I can never hear what they say an EVP is saying, because of if they don't have that caption at the bottom when they play it,
and
it's like, I don't know what that is.
And your brain kind of fills in the blanks with those captions as well. They know exactly what they're doing.
They throw that caption up first or at the same time when they play it. It's like, that did kind of sound like, run and die or whatever. And but if I were to cover up the screen and just listen to it, it's like, it just sounds like, I don't know what that is. But I don't know if that's just me or if that's everybody or what.
Actually, Side-Eye, you probably would agree with me on this one, I wonder. I often watch these shows and I'll get an EVP and they might say, oh, it said, run, there's danger. And I think it did. And you can hear, like, that's all you can hear, like, and I'll think, oh, but then I'll listen and listen and listen. But I might hear not run, there's danger. I'll hear something completely different. And I sometimes wonder if that's my accent, because I listen with an Aussie accent, obviously. And I think, well, that sounded more like said, get your gun or something like that, not run or
right, yeah.
So I know that happens sometimes, but yeah, I've heard I have heard some EVPs, but it's usually just things like no, or I don't know, like personally, and I actually mentioned, I can't remember who I was chatting to yesterday. I think I was in a chat. What a shock. And I said to someone, I remember, my friend Jason put up an episode where we were at, where were we? There's a old hospital on College Hill in West Virginia. That's where we were. And he thought he could hear an EVP on my recorder. And I realized yesterday, I haven't even listened to that since I've been home. And that was in his episode. And I thought, I better get my recorder out and listen, because I tell you what, if I found something, because I know I tagged all of my recordings, so I know who was with me and that sort of thing. So I thought, well, I know I was with Jason alone. So if I actually hear something and I know it's not him, I'll be convinced. But I'm yet to find anything like that. I'm spitting chips. I really want to find something like that, but I haven't. And Enzo, I think you know this, Side-Eye, the reason I'm so fascinated with all of this stuff is because I did lose my son a few years ago in an accident, and I had a bit of an experience the night that he passed away. I didn't know he had passed, but I found out the next day. But the time of his death, unbeknownst to me, I had an experience. So after he passed and after my brain started to function a little bit again, I started to suddenly get really interested in paranormal and wondering, well, I wonder if I can somehow communicate with him, or I wonder if even in that short second when we leave here to go to somewhere else, if we can contact who we're leaving. So that's kind of where my brain goes. And that's why when I see people fake things, I get very upset, because I think can't be the only one who's looking for answers for that reason. And I'm not. And I just sort of think, I don't like it. And also, that's why when I hear people say go into a house like the Sally house, and they say stuff, oh, there's a thing doing this and doing that and blah blah blah. I looked into it, and I've deducted that most of those stories are false and not based at all in anything relevant.
Mm.
And then I get really upset for the family who did live in the house, and I think that was a really nice family, really nice people. And people that you would be proud to say were your family members, and some ding dong has gone in there and made up all these stories to make money. But you've got to be careful what you say, because that's my opinion. I wasn't there when they say all these things happen, so I don't know. Maybe a demon did throw their dog against the wall or play with their children's toys. I don't know. I wasn't there. But based on everything I've seen, I don't think so. But that's why I do what I do. So that's why I want to investigate, and I truthfully really want to see something or whatever. And Joe before mentioned that, in old buildings, they used to smoke all the time and blah, blah, blah. I'm fully aware of that, Joe. And actually at the time that happened to me in the Washoe Club, I think Jason's got footage. I said, hang on, I'm going to smell the wood because could just be in the wood. It was a cold night, so it wasn't heat expanding and making it. There was no smell coming from the wood. It was literally in the air. And when the chills stopped, so did the smell. It was all in one thing. So the smell hit me, and then the chills hit me. And then within a few seconds, maybe 10, 15 seconds, gone. So, and it wasn't coming from the units next door, the flats next door, or anything like that. So I don't know what that was. I can't explain it. But my first instinct was to smell the wood around the doors and stuff to see if that smelled like what I could smell, because that's what I thought could be happening, but it wasn't. But I know, Joe, you throw everything out there. Joe's just said he was just throwing it out there. I call Joe my Debbie Downer, because every time I come up with anything that could be something, he goes, oh, dear me. But so
I wasn't aware of having your son, so first off, I'm very sorry for your loss. That's horrible. It's funny you should mention that, because my mum, when my granddad died, my mum it's kind of a different situation for you, because what's interesting about what you said is that you saw that apparition. Was it an apparition, or was it like a feeling?
No, a feeling. It was I had an overwhelming feeling out of nowhere, just out of nowhere. I was quite fine. An overwhelming feeling of dread, depression, and oh my God, there's no tomorrow. And I just kept saying that.
So it's interesting. It's like you had some kind of experience without the knowledge of what happened.
Correct.
Because my mum, I think 2 days after her dad died, she saw an apparition of him. And I'm not sure if you two have ever listened to this podcast called Uncanny. It's by Danny Robbins. Brilliant podcast. They kind of tell ghost stories, but then they kind of analyze the ghost stories from so one skeptic and another believer, and they kind of just sort of debate what the theories that might happen. And through this podcast, I forget which episode it's on, they talk about a very large number of people, we just don't talk about it, believe that they see a loved one like very soon after they die. Now the question there is that an apparition saying their final goodbyes, or is that just how a lot of people process grief? And my mum just absolutely swears down, but she's all in on almost everything paranormal. But she swears down that was her dad saying goodbye to her.
I could, because when you are grieving, your brain, I can guarantee, I can tell you now, you don't ever make a life choice or a huge decision straight after something like that happens, because your brain is simply not functioning like it should be, because it's obviously trying to protect you for the amount of grief that is hitting you. But given my feelings happened when I didn't know anything had happened to him, I didn't know. I didn't find out till the next morning. But then when I found out the next morning, the time that all happened to me was the time of his death. So one would say, well, I wasn't grieving yet. But for their theory, I didn't know. I had no idea. I didn't see him, and I've never seen him. So I've never seen an apparition. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to find answers for. What the hell was that? Like, how did that even happen? I've had a few people say that when you're a mother, because of that link that you've given birth to somebody, you're still, and he was my, my baby boy. So right. I get it. So I don't know. There's just so much out there that we don't know the answer to, and that's why I appreciate people that are skeptics. Not that you just jump in right on the deep end and go, yes, it's real. It might not be real. Maybe when we die, there's only a fleeting few seconds where that energy escapes, and then we're gone. Maybe there's nothing. But,
perhaps. It's always been my thing about ghosts, so or just the supernatural, I suppose, in general. It's just the sheer number of people who claim they've seen something. And I'm not sure if anyone watched like my last video I did, but I explained that I had some kind of experience myself, and I'm a staunch skeptic, like I really am. But it's what always makes me question the an afterlife or anything like that, even though I can explain away. This is what I'm saying. I was going right back to the beginning when I first joined, when I think I mentioned that it's very difficult to prove this, because even what you see might not be what you think you see. There's a lot of factors with what happens with the human brain, and I think that about my experience often of like, did I really see that? I don't know if I really saw that. I don't know what that really was. And there's a lot of ways to kind of like try and deal with that and process it, but it really is like, comes down to like the sheer number of people that claim they've seen it. And even if you kind of say, half of that are people faking it, which it could well be. I don't think anyone should ever underestimate the drive and power for attention. Like it's insane how much people love attention. So like if you say that like half is that, and then another half of 25% of that is like people just mistaken for wind or leaky pipes or whatever it might be. But even if you whittle it down, and there could be like even if it is like, of all the ghost claims out there, like just 2%, maybe 1%, where you're like, can't explain that.
No,
there's something maybe.
Someone in the chat was just saying that they'd had a dream where their deceased mother reached out and sort of basically made her check or kibba. I'm saying her, could be a he, it's her. Sorry, kibba. Dreams are sometimes just dreams, but I think, for example, in Sodai's instance with his mum, she was obviously awake when she saw that, and I was certainly awake. I was watching TV when I had that feeling come over me. I do think that when you're asleep or in that in between, I think sometimes our brains, well, it's proven if you don't dream you can get awfully ill. Yes. Our brains just try to make sense of things, and we have these dreams. But there could be something in dreams. I don't know. I mean, aren't we supposed to be able to telepathically connect with aliens? So possibly, telepathically, someone's reaching out and saying, "Wake up."
Right.
But yeah,
but actually, your story is fairly similar to my neighbor. She's 70. I think she just turned 77. I think about 3 or 4 months ago, her 57-year-old son passed away. With heart complications. It was fast. Like she talked with him on the phone that morning, went to call him that night to see if he'd gotten his medications and stuff like that from the hospital, from whatever the heart episode it was, and he was already gone. He was dead at home. But anyways, the funeral, all that stuff. So a few days later, and she tells me these things because she's always into the weird stuff, I guess. But she's like, "You're the only person I can tell this to that I think might believe me." And she tells me how a few days after, his service and the whole thing, she's sitting, there just trying to figure out what to do with, all of his stuff. And because he had a house, he lived alone, because he was divorced and stuff like that. All the family thing, the things that, the living leave behind that you have to deal with. And she noticed that the lamp that sits next to her little chair that she has in front of the TV just started flickering out of nowhere, just flickering on and off, like it was a bad connection, like a bulb was going bad. She's like, geez, I think I might have an extra bulb. Like, I need this to worry about. She goes and gets another bulb. She puts the new bulb in there. Seems fine. She's doing laundry in the back room, and the overhead light in the laundry room, it starts flickering. And when she's looking, it's like, why would there be electrical issues? And in the middle of the thought of trying to figure it out, noodle it through, she said she got this feeling that it was her son telling her that he was okay. That's the impression she got. Mm-hmm. And it calmed her, and she felt good about that. And about a couple more days went on, and she noticed other lights flickering. And again, that feeling that she got was his way of saying, I need to move on. Mm-hmm. And nothing, she didn't change any more bulbs or anything like that in the house, and all the flickering stopped after that. But even if it was bad bulbs or electrical problems, it made her, it helped with her grief over losing a son. It made her feel good that there was this message that she had received, that she knew he was okay and he was moving on to someplace better. And it was very touching. And honestly, when she was telling me this, I was almost ready to cry. And she was like, matter of fact, this is how I stood it. This is what I felt. This is how I'm taking it. That kind of thing.
So I think that's good, because it helped her with the grief.
Yeah.
I know with shortly after my son passed, I was home alone. And I can't explain it. Could have been a truck going by, could have been anything. But I was home alone. I was hyperventilating because I was beside myself, obviously thinking of him, and I like this. And there's one thing my son hated, and it was whenever he would see me cry, he'd say, "Fuck's sake, Mum, stop crying." And that's exactly how he'd say it. "For fuck's sake, stop crying." He hated seeing me cry. And and I was staring at a picture of him, and he was just little next to a dolphin. And we went to Cyrille, and I'm looking at this picture, and without a word of a lie, the picture went bang, like really hard, bang, and it was on a thick base thing, and I stopped because I just saw what I saw. I just stopped. I looked over at the dog, and the dog's looking up at the picture because he'd heard it too. And I've gone, okay. And in my head, like you say with that lady, something in my head registered, "For fuck's sake, Mum, stop crying." And I did. It solved my issue of hyperventilating. So whether or not it was a truck went by and it just happened to rumble the house without me knowing, and the frame fell over coincidentally, all that sort of thing, which it may have been, but it served its purpose. Same with your friend. It may have just been a funny glitch in the electricity at the time, but it served the purpose. I kind of hope for her it was what she thinks, and I hope for me it was what it could have been, but I'm still skeptical. Still very skeptical.
Right. And I was skeptical too when she was telling the story, but just seeing her reaction, it's like, I would be the biggest scumbag in the world. Like, you just had these bad kind of light bulbs. That's all it was. I would never do that.
No,
knowing that it's allowing
if it helps,
her
it helps,
to,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does help.
Just I'll keep my skeptical mouth shut. It's helping her, and I do love her. She's great. We became closer friends when all the lockdowns and stuff like that were happening all over the planet a couple of years ago. I don't know what that was for, but I would go over once a week and check on her. Hey, do you need anything? Because I'm a little younger than her, and she's certainly in that age group that you don't want to be outside necessarily or out at the stores or anything like that. I'd go and do things for her if she needed something, things like that. So we still do that even today, where I'll stop by at least once a week. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? And we'll sit and chat for, hour or so, and then see you next week. Need anything? Okay. But she's always sharing stuff like that. She had this weird thing that really caught me off guard, which I actually just the other day found. God, this is what she described. Maybe this is something you've heard of, or in your world. But she has one of those Ring doorbell camera things that a lot of people have, and she said at like 3 a.m, her phone goes off saying that there was somebody within that little zone walking around. And she looks at the phone and she looks at the video recorded. And she said it looked like 3 dots stacked on top of each other. 1, 2, 3. And these 3 dots, it looked like it moved around like it was a person walking around in the like little sidewalk area in front of her door. And when it left, it actually followed the sidewalk moving away and actually coming towards where my place is. And it was only, 5 or 6 seconds. But it looks exactly like this video that I just found the other day on Reddit. It was one of those dumb things where I'm going through videos and up pops this thing. It's like, oh my God, that's exactly what she described. It's like, I don't know what this is. My initial thing was, okay, it's a spider web and there's stuff stuck in the spider web and the wind's blowing it around. And I didn't see any spider web when I went outside and looked at her thing. And the way she described it, it didn't sound like something from a spider web or even just an insect, or anything like that. So it's like, I don't know, kind of strange. But
Side-eye guy, we've got a visitor in the chat. Can you see the chat? Side-eye guy?
Sorry, what?
Can you see the chat?
No, I'm here. It went all a bit.
Oh,
no, I can't. I can see comments, but not the chat. So people.
Oh, okay. Because Jake's in the chat. See, there he is.
Shake.
I don't know why he's not blessing me with his actual presence, but he probably hasn't got his face on. But he's here. He's lurking. He's listening.
Oh, lovely. Hey, man, how's it going?
Yeah. Well, he's only he has put an episode up this morning too. If people want to go over and check it out, I'll check it out after I.
I'll check it out later.
Yeah, check it out.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, he's a funny. The reason I like these guys, Enzo, is because they're funny. Like you watch something. I have to say, Side-Eye Guys content it's very tongue-in-cheek type humor. So I like it's very English/Australian humor. I like it. It is. It's very sarcasm. I guess that's sarcastic, which is really most Aussies and English. I guess that's where we get it from. That's our kind of humor.
Very, very, very dry sense of humor with that sarcasm. Well, I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, and the Shape, on the other hand, he's very American funny. Like I like watching his because he does like he does little animations. So he'll debunk somebody and he'll do the same thing, smart ass comments about what they've done, but then he'll have his little animations that do funny things. And it's just, if I'm feeling down at all, I'll go and watch something on the Shapes channel and it'll surely make me laugh. And now it seems it'll be the same with the Side-Eye Guy, because I've watched a few of yours. I've still got to do some catching up, but they're a good, if you're feeling a bit flat, they're a good giggle. But yeah, and that's why I like you, Enzo, because Enzo's funny as well. Although he doesn't have a channel, Side-Eye Guy.
No, I just mooch off of my friends.
He's just a YouTube whore. He just goes around.
I do get around. This is show number 2 for me today, and I've got a third one coming up in about 30 minutes. So.
Yeah, you'll be going on. Is it the boys, the Chop Shop, Paranormal Chop Shop?
Yep, going on with Sonny and the gang over at the Paranormal Shop here in little over 30 minutes, where we'll be talking with Jim Goodall, who's he is the guy that literally wrote the book on the history of the SR-71.
I know who he is. Yeah.
And through his research in finding out the history of the aircraft and all that, he interviewed pilots, he interviewed people at Skunk Works where they built it, and he got to be friends with some of these people, and they certainly had some things to say. Hey, hi. About basically about UFOs to kind of shorten up the tale. So, and plus he's got a few other things. He was recently down in the Antilles looking at some ancient archaeology sites down there and things like that. So we've got a lot of questions for Jim when he comes on.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. I'll come and have a look, because I did watch, that's another channel I've discovered, the Paranormal Chop Shop. But I did go in and watch your live, was it last week, before you were on with me last week, and that was super funny. The fellas telling different stories about different things that have happened to them, and so yeah, but they seem pretty genuine and nice blokes. They don't seem like they're lying.
I've got to check that one out.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, the paranormal. I don't know. Do they actually? Because that's their live. I didn't pay attention, Enzo. Do they go out and investigate it all, or do they just get on and chat about stuff?
They get on and chat. They don't go out. In the strict. We're gathering up all of our toys and going to go investigate this place or anything like that. It's with Sonny, who hosts the show. He's the guy that it looks like he's in the garage because it is a garage. He has stuff where he will walk outside, like, hey, Sonny, what's their UFO UAP report? He will literally walk outside, and within an hour for sure, he'll text back a video. It's like, yep, there it is. It's just something strange buzzing by. It's not an aircraft. It doesn't have the navigation lights or beacons or anything like that on it. It's like, it's not a satellite. It's not all of these things. And because he lives in Southern California, but he's like in a very remote area of Southern. He's nowhere near like Los Angeles or San Diego or anything like that. He's out closer to the mountains, and sees some strange things. And he's actually very good friends with Jim Goodall, which he's talked to many times. That's awesome. How he's on the show. Jim stops over at his house when he goes to Las Vegas. Stuff like that. They're good friends.
I did talk about this last week, but when I was watching, and he told the story of the stinky thing the stinky smell when he pulled up to go camping with his dog, and he was setting up his camping trailer and stuff, and he could smell something's dead, like it must be a dead deer or something. And I thought, well, firstly, I said to Enzo, I wouldn't have set up. I would have just gone in my car.
Yeah, I know. Just for the smell alone, it's like, why are you going to camp here? It's going to stink all the whole time you're here.
Yeah, but he kept setting up anyway, and then he went off with the dog with the torch, I think, or the dog wouldn't go near it. That's what it was. He said
right.
The dog,
it was by the time he got his trailer set up, it was well after dark, and the dog was like, nope, I ain't going anywhere near. Let me inside. I want to go inside.
Yeah.
So once the next day when he went out, was the sun came up, looked around, and he even went in various places around where he was setting up the trailer in different areas, and he never smelled it again. And if you've ever encountered anything dead out in the woods like that, it's not like it doesn't, even with a shift in the wind, you're still gonna, if you walk in a large enough circle, you're gonna find it again. And he didn't find any spots anywhere nearby where something had been dead. Maybe it got carted off in the middle of the night by scavengers. So he kind of thinks that it might have been something like a Bigfoot, because that's one of the stories about Bigfoot is they stink a lot. So.
That's the only thing that happens whenever I see anyone talk about Bigfoot. As much as I would love him or our version, the Yowie or the Himalayan Yeti, as much as I'd love for them to be real, I really don't think they are. I'm always happy to be proven wrong, but I just kind of think, and let's just say, argument's sake for a second, they are real. I would never want anyone to find them ever, because if you find one,
right.
you know what humans are like. We're not very good animals. Someone will go in there and just destroy them or put it in a cage or so.
Right.
I always find it funny. Like I can weirdly, as much of a skeptic as I am with a lot of things, it might just be because like you said, Karen, like I really want Bigfoot to be real. Like I love Bigfoot to be real. And I'm like, for me, I think there's more chance that a flesh and blood creature could be real than, a ghost, because it's you can't, like, where I can, if for whatever kind of examples we got of like a ghost sighting, there's like 100 different ways maybe to find another explanation or disprove it, or it's lying or whatever it might be. If it's a Bigfoot, it's a Bigfoot. If you catch it, it's a Bigfoot. Like you can't go wrong. Like you got it. So like, I do kind of think though, like maybe they should have found it by now with all the people that look for it. But that American wilderness just goes on and on and on. Like it's enormous. It's enormous. So, which I always find funny whenever I see like fake videos about British people saying that, oh, there's these creatures in this forest. Goes, no, it's not. Like you can walk a couple of hours, you're on the other end of it. It's not that big a. It's too small a country. Too small a country with too many people in it for anything like that to go unseen for for so long. But I don't know, America or Russia or any of those sort of countries where it's like there's just such a vast amount of wilderness.
Yep. And that was the thing that when I was over there, Enzo and Cyrille, when I went over there and I was driving, well, I wasn't driving. I have driven in America, but my friend Jason was driving. But we were driving from Oklahoma up. We ended up in Canada, but we drove through all the southern states, etc. I was just sitting there. Firstly, it's kind of a little surreal because when you watch it on TV, you go, oh, wow, that's so pretty. Oh, wow, that's so pretty. But when you see the countryside in America, like you say, Side-Eye, it's massive. You would, there could be something living in those mountains and you would never freaking find it, especially if it had an ounce of sense to stay away from humans. And I sort of think, so that's a kind of like you, Side-Eye, I sort of think to myself, well, could be. We're talking about something that's real. I don't know about this theory about dimensions. I'm not sure about that.
That's when it gets a bit silly, isn't it? When they start talking about they can go interdimensional.
That's one of those. That's one of those lines that a lot of people don't. They could sort of maybe see some, undiscovered, some undiscovered gorilla or something like that, some undiscovered creature like that, maybe. But when you start going into the mind speak and the teleporting and the going invisible, cloaking stuff, that's a little bit too far for some people. But some people do swear. It's like, I've seen this thing and I was tracking it. I was trying to track it. It was just gone, or footprints in the snow would just stop.
It's another one though. Like the only way to prove it is if you catch it. There's it's really like it. That's it. There's no you can give me all the eyewitness accounts you got. We've even got video footage of it, which is so sketchy. You got to get it. You got to capture it.
Yeah, you've got.
Like I don't care about footprints. I don't care about hair you might think you found. I don't care any of that. I want a Bigfoot. That's what I want. I want to see a Bigfoot.
And the same the same goes for aliens as well, where it's like, if you just show me, oh, this is a wrecked ship that crashed, it's like, you guys could have made that. That could be anything. That's not even enough. Even just showing, mechanical stuff isn't enough. We need to see those bodies.
And in this day and age too, with the way things on film can be so well done, so well faked. Even with that other stuff, which I won't talk about it now, but the stuff where someone puts on someone else's face, it's got a name. But basically, if you've got a similar face shape, you overlay it with something. It's got a name. Like it's really
deep fake.
Deep fake. Yeah. I mean, oh my God, they did that with the Tom Cruise thing for ages, and it was like, so they could do that with anything, unless you see it yourself, touch it yourself. No one's ever going to believe anything. I think with the Bigfoot thing and aliens, I think I don't know. I know I wouldn't be even with all this stuff that might come out from the hearing about the whistleblowers and stuff. Again, I'll believe it. Like if the government says everything, well, I mean, I've had my suspicions anyway ever since Bob Lazar, but I would think even then, like you say, well, how's it going to affect me though? Like, what's in it for me to even know that? And I'd still want to see them talk or somehow communicate or fly over my house. Do that. Come and get me. Take me for a ride. Take me to the moon and back, and I'll be happy. But we've become so skeptical.
You're not alone. You're not alone in that. That's what I was saying earlier. Is there's a lot of people like, all right.
Yeah. Yep.
And because we've all heard, even if you're into all of that stuff, it's like all the stuff that Grush was reporting. It's like, yeah, that was like every week on Art Bell for many years. I would hear those same stories, of mysterious, back engineering places. And, it's Bob Lazar's story. Honestly, a lot of what he said was Bob Lazar's tale. And I go back and forth even on Bob Lazar. It's like, I don't know. There's some stuff there that, okay, I could sort of see where that's a thing. And then there's other parts like, well, nobody's ever come forward. It's like, yeah, I remember being in the same physics class as that guy. It was kind of weird, a loner or whatever. No, nobody's come forward like that. No teachers say they remember him in class. There's a lot of stuff that's.
Well, but do you think though, because I was thinking about, you said that the other day, and I was thinking about that, and I also wonder what Side-Eye thinks about it. If I was threatened, like say Enzo, you told me you were Bob Lazar and you told me all that stuff, and I saw you at work. All right, I saw you at work. I saw you there, but then that means how did I see you? Yeah, there you go.
I'm Bob Lazar. There's the shit back.
There's Bob at work, right? So I see you, Bob, and I see the spaceship. And then later on, I see you on the news and I think, oh, shit, he's done it. He's told them. And then I hear what everyone's saying about you, that you're a liar, you're fake, you're this, that's bullshit. But I know you and I think you're a nice bloke. But then, shit, we've just had a directive from our employers and the government that says you dare say anything and we'll ruin you. You'll go into debt. You won't have a job. Will threaten your family. So who knows who's been threatened? And they do it. They do it. Like that's how they play these games.
I always find most conspiracy theories are always kind of like what makes it most believable is when government do nefarious stuff, because that's the most believable part of any kind of conspiracy. So of course they would. Yeah, like that's the most believable part of all these conspiracy theories. Exactly. Like, the government would never do that. Yeah, they would go above and beyond to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Black Cat just said, what did Black Cat say? Go to Rachel, Nevada, is that how you say it? At Area 51, try to breach the property line and tell me something ain't up. Well, in all fairness, and Enzo can probably tell me this, in all fairness, even any army base, Air Force base, just a regular base.
Any military base,
you don't mess with that.
You don't, if they find you on the border of any base, regardless if it's Area 51 or anything, you're in trouble. Like, what are you doing there? Like, you'll get in trouble. And I don't know. The other interesting thing that I did watch the Australian reporter again. I watched him since I've spoken to you last, Enzo. The one I've got Russ
Coulthart. Yeah.
Yes, because he's really like in Australia. We all know who he is. Like he's Reggie Ditch. He's not a faker, or like he's not in the mainstream.
He was on your version of 60 Minutes years ago.
Yeah, he was, and then he left that. 60 Minutes is pretty shit now.
Right.
but he left that. So now he does his own thing. But he said something about the fact, and I thought, oh, I didn't hear that. He just mentioned it, that he said that Grush told him that the alien spaceships that they've been reverse engineering are not in America. They're offshore. That's what he said.
That could be.
And I thought, where are they? Maybe they're here. Because we're the allies, maybe they're here in Australia.
You kind of have your own little Area 51 down there in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, we do. I did. Remember X-Files? My husband once was up in Darwin when he was in the Air Force, and David Duchovny, I don't know what he was doing here, but he was in Darwin, and my husband met him, and I said, "Oh my God, you met Mr. Potato Pants." That was his nickname back in the day.
Mr. Potato Pants.
Oh, because it looked like he had a potato down the front of his pants. You know, like he's a lucky boy.
I guess so.
But I said, "Oh my God, you met him." I said, "What are they doing here?" He said, "Oh, I did ask him." I'm trying to remember the name of our base now. Now I've gone really big. But he said, "Oh, I did ask him if he was intending to go Pine Gap. If he was going to Pine Gap to do an episode," but he said no, but that's an idea. And I just remember when you've said that, then I remember, because we've got our Pine Gap, which is kind of your Area 51 version of. So who knows? Yeah, Potato Pants, Tanya. It used to be he did some back in the day when he was a lot younger. He did some photo shoot where he sat on his kitchen bench with a teapot strategically positioned. It was a nude photograph, but not really, because the teapot was where it needed to be. But he was at the beach here in Australia, and he was wearing budgie smugglers. That's what we call them here. You know what they are, don't you, Side-Eye? You've been here long enough.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he was.
I don't wear them.
No, you got to wear the shorts. No one wears them anymore. But back then, and someone said it looked like he had a big potato down the front of his pants. And that's why I don't call David Duchovny. I call him Mr. Potato Pants.
Mr. Potato Pants.
Oh God. But yeah, so there's lots of interesting things happen. But how long have you got, Enzo? You'll have to go in about 10, won't you?
Yeah, about 10 more minutes.
Yeah, well, I'll be kind to everybody, including Side-Eye Guy, and I'll wind it up. And this time I've got to go. See, I've got to say goodbye because Enzo needs to leave, and Side-Eye probably has to go and deal with things.
You guys can keep talking. Just because I leave doesn't mean you have to stop. But
no, about 10 minutes is probably when I should shoot off as well, or my wife might do my head in, or might kick my ass.
Yeah, I was just going to say because it's almost 2 in the afternoon here, and yeah, it's a beautiful day outside.
Can I ask, is because I can't see the comment, the chat. Is Shape still there?
I don't think. I think he's disappeared. Hang on, Shape, are you still around? Because he sometimes just listens. He lurks.
Yeah.
But if he's here, he comes in sometimes and then he just disappears.
Okay, I might just send him an email myself, but I just want to know how he's getting on with everything, because he was hit with the bands as well. So
trying to get
maybe he might explain this on his new video he's uploaded actually. So I just want to know how he's going on.
Have a look. But yeah, I think he'll be all right because he hasn't done anything. The only thing that confuses me about YouTube is that it's fair use, the same as with you, Side-Eye. It's fair use. You're changing it, like you're using clippers, but you're sort of changing the look of things. You're overlaying it with stuff, and that's fair use. I think that's just the very fact that within.
Well, it's reviewing critique, and they
don't like the critique. So
I think I just lost everything you said there for the last 5, 10 seconds.
Oh, that's all right. I never say anything important or relevant.
Oh no, that's not true.
Oh God. Kibba, no. Budgie smugglers.
Banana hammock is how I've always heard.
Yeah.
Banana hammock. It's like tiny little underwear that men wear, except down here we call them budgie smugglers.
Like Speedos.
Right. Speedos is, yeah.
So that's what that is.
You might don't ask what Australians think of as thongs. That's another whole conversation you can have. Thongs are something very different here to what maybe the rest of the world thinks of them.
Yeah, I've given that tutorage. I've explained to them because we wear thongs on our feet, but you call them flip flops. See,
right?
So
I've heard both here in New Zealand.
What are they in England? Are they thongs or flip flops?
We don't really wear them because it's too cold. But I don't think Other than going on holidays, I don't think I ever really wore thongs, flip flops before I came to Australia.
No.
Flip flops. We call them flip flops.
Yeah, and the
But
Yanks
their sales are pretty low in England. We don't really wear them.
Yeah.
it's too cold.
Shower shoes.
Nowadays, nowadays, summertime, it's usually for a girl, it'll just be sandals, but they still sell big time here. But oh yes, Johnny Farnham. Oh, someone. Black Cat. I actually, Side-Eye, do you know who Johnny Farnham is? I don't know if you've been here long enough, because he's sort of back in the 70s.
Sorry to say, I do not.
That's all right. You can Google him later. John Farnham. He was.
John Farnham. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I know John Farnham. Sorry. Yes, I'm being silly.
Wow.
Yes.
I would have had to say.
Yes, I've been here long enough. I know John Farnham. Excuse me.
Yeah. He's Black Cat just said that we gave them Johnny Farnham, and he's her favorite. Yes. When I was, I'll tell you a quick story, and then I'll end this because everyone's got to go. I'll give you my quick Johnny Farnham story. When I was a little girl, our neighbour 3 houses up, her husband used to go fishing with Johnny when he was only about 19, 20, and but he was really big back then. He was on the front of all the magazines, and he had his hits and whatever, and the girls would scream for him. I would have been 8 or maybe 7 because I'd lost my front teeth. And the little girls from that house came up to get us and say, do you want to come up and meet Johnny Farnham? He's at our house. So we ran up to meet Johnny Farnham, and I ran in and I threw my arms around his neck, and he said, oh, and he said, you've nearly broken my neck. And then he had talked to me and made fun about me missing my teeth. And for years after that, I stayed there for a little while, and he talked to me and everything. But for years after that, every year they'd have a telethon, and Johnny would be at the telethon. It was sort of like America had the
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis, yeah. But Johnny didn't host it. He was just a person who would talk to you on the phone. I kept in touch with him all that time, and even up until probably 20 years ago was probably the last time I ever spoke to him. He remembered me every time, probably because I didn't let him forget. But he's a gorgeous little man, and he got very sick with throat cancer, but he's an awesome singer. But I think he's getting a little bit better now. So that's who Johnny is. But, I love Johnny Farnham. I love Johnny Farnham. But I think my nana went to his wedding because she said she danced with him. Very small community back in the days. But there you go. All right. Well, Enzo needs to go in a sec. Probably needs to go to the toilet and get a cold drink before he goes talking to the boys on the paranormal pit stop. If any of you guys are bored or whatever, because I'm about to go, I really do have to do some gardening. But if you're bored, Google YouTube the paranormal pit stop. They're just a
paranormal chop shop.
Oh, that's right. That was going to be my new name. Paranormal pit stop. I've decided not to change my name, Enzo.
No, okay.
Well, it's just I got told if I change my name, then people might get confused, and I thought, fruitcakes and bananas. So I thought, it's got paranormal in the name, and I do all different bits and bobs, not just paranormal. So whatever. People can get used to me, and doof doof probably, You do know what doof doof means, Side-Eye?
I don't know what it means.
Well, in Australia,
I don't know what it means. No.
Well, I better teach you the Aussie phrase then. So in Australia, if you hear someone driving along in their car and you hear the music, but you don't hear the music, you just hear that.
The music. Okay, yeah. Right.
That's doof doof music, right? That I hate doof doof music because it's so loud and yucky. That's what we refer to as doof doof in Australia. But I explained that to Crow one night, who, as a joke, put my name on the panel as Doof Doof Paranormal. And I just thought that was funny, and I took it. Before that, it was just Karen from Australia. So that's what it means. But there you go. So that's what Doof Doof means.
Makes sense.
So,
right.
There you go. So now you'll know if you ever come to Australia, Enzo, and someone says, turn that bloody doof doof music down, you know what they're talking about. So basically just really loud, bassy music. But there you go. Enzo, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me again today. It's always lovely talking to you.
Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and we always talk about random stuff, which is good. We cover our bases.
That's okay.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone in the chat, and a special thank you to the side-eye guy for joining me. And it's so lovely meeting you. And you know how to talk to me now. So if you've ever got any questions or whatever, go for it.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much. Thank you, Enzo.
Yeah, and no
Pleasure
worries.
meeting you.
And if you ever want to go and investigate anywhere, let me know, and I'll find somewhere, and I'll bring my equipment. I'll bring my thing.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
I want to experience it for myself one day.
Yeah. So if you ever,
I would like, much like what you've done, just quickly, much like what you've done, I would love to go to a lot of like the American and British places as well. There's like a whole bunch of them. Like I would like to go to a couple. I think I'd like to go to a couple until I just find it extraordinarily boring and just never want to do it again. But at the moment, I've got like a bit of a hunger to give it a go. So yeah.
Well, I'm going back to Virginia City in November. That'll be my last trip to America because then I'm poor. Well, I'm already poor, but I've paid for it, so it's all good. But yeah, my dream is to go to England though. One day, I want to go. I do want to go to that stupid house. What's it called? The one that's supposed to have demons in it. The
stupid house.
Oh,
the what? What was it?
Yeah.
The something in the
Ram's Inn, the ancient Ram's Inn.
Ancient Ram's Inn. I actually want to go and see that because it's so old. It was built in what?
Yeah, it looks amazing. Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, I want to go
just for the architecture. I'd be interested in going there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to go, and if you do want to see some boys talk about boy stuff and silly stuff, but there's a really good guest on paranormal. I was going to say it again, Paranormal Chop Shop. If you're interested in the alien type things, the guest, I'm going to go and look at it as soon as I go get some lunch and do a bit of bits and bobs. So I'll be in there lurking, Enzo. But yeah, go check it out. And Side-Eye Guy, you are welcome anytime to come and have a chat if you would like to. And please, everybody, if you haven't already, go over to the Side-Eye Guy's channel because he is awesome. All right. And his stuff's really
Thank
funny.
you very much.
He comes back by the Shape, Beardo, and Crow. So and now I've watched his content. Take it from me, he's funny. You'll like it. But I love you all. I really do. Like you make my day when you come in the chat and talk to me. It's nice and it's fun. And Enzo, mwah, thank you. And Side-Eye Guy, you've got a wife, so I won't go mwah to you, but I just but yeah, Subboom, you'll love
she won't mind.
Nah, she'd be all right. Yeah, so that's it from me, guys. And I finished my Sutro Tunnel episode. I'm just doing the voiceover now, and I promised it for a couple of weeks, but I promise I'm going to probably pop that out on Tuesday for you to watch, and you can make up your own mind if the Sutro Tunnel's haunted. Do I think it is? But it could be. We'll see. You never know. Make up your own mind. But
keeping all options open.
Yeah, the Sutro Tunnel's awesome anyway, the history of it. So you'll like that. Okay, guys. Love you lots, and I'll talk to you again soon.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.